broken up with your partner after a messy fight and wondered, how did I just throw away such a beautiful relationship? Like, that might really hurt. But the question is, how do you get back into the heart of your partner after a messy fight? On this episode of Moans and Cuddles, we take you through how to win him or her after calling it quits. My name is Paulina Dedaa Opoku. We'll be right back. Yo, welcome back to Moans and Cuddles here on Ghana Web TV. So, you know how we do it. On Moans and Cuddles, we talk relationship, we give you all the advice and all the things you need to know to spice your relationship. And today, it is a rainy night. Yes, it's a rainy kind of season, but my guest and I, that is not going to stop us. We're still going to carry on with the show and make sure that it happens. So, to help me do the discussion today, regular face, Ogochukwu Nweke. He is a relationship counselor and a communication expert. Nice to have you back.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And the lady, Francisca Ashon, she is, like, this is her first time of being on the show. But Franca, we know you're going to bring the heat, right?
Well, let's see what happens. Let's just get it going.
We'll see how it goes at the end of the day. All right, so we're just focusing on, it's a big deal for people. A lot of people have issues in relationships. But then today we want to turn our attention to how to get your relationship back on track after a terrible fight. But so I'm going to start with you, Ogo. You know, there are some people who say, I have anger issues. I have anger issues. If you are with someone like that, how do you deal with it?
Well, sorry, a very warm greeting to your viewers as well. Now, well, it depends on the perspective that the person is coming from. You know, when you say you have anger issues and you're struggling with anger and all of that, when you're in a relationship with someone, you get to know the person. Then you understand the implications of being in a relationship with that person. That way you know what to expect. And then when people speak about anger, anger manifests in through what I call the 3 Fs. Okay, fight, flight, freeze.
Fight,
freeze, or fight, flight, and freeze.
Okay.
So with fights, you know, you see them manifesting a lot of aggression, okay, and some of the times they might even be physically abusive, okay. Then with flight, they just leave you and walk away.
That's men like doing that thing. Like when we are trying to argue, then you stop. You put me in that mood. I'm trying to argue and now you want to walk away. And trying to see you're the bigger person.
Okay, well, there are 2 women here. I'm not going to hold brief for the men, so I'll just I'll just get on with it. You're not going to put me in that spot again tonight.
Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. So with freeze, you know, you just you know, flight, you just walk away. Well, with freeze, you just go quiet. You know, you don't want to talk about it again. You don't want to raise the issue. You just end it there. Okay, but it doesn't mean it's been resolved. And so anger manifests in various ways, okay, depending on the person that you're dealing with and how it works for them. And then you also have this group of people that understand that the anger they deal with is a flaw, but they like the result it gives to them, okay? Because anytime they manifest that certain level of anger or aggression, you back down. Okay, so you say, oh, sweetheart, you know, let's not continue. I see this thing is not, so let's just forget about it.
I know where you are heading towards.
You know, that kind of thing. But it also can get very manipulative. Okay, so when you have someone like that, you come to understand that even with the other 3, the issues are never resolved. But this particular aspect, the person likes what it gives him or gives her. Because the moment they begin to manifest like that, you want to pull back and say, okay, let's not have any of this. Let's just let it go. Okay. So, but it depends on the people, okay, and how you have built on whatever flaw is existing to still be able to grow and sustain your relationship. Of course, when it becomes very risky, like abusive, physically abusive, even though that is not the only kind of abuse that can emanate out of anger, okay, it's usually better that you walk away and not stick around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Walk away and not. Franca, for us women, you say that, oh, that kind of thing. So as a person, being a man or woman, you have anger issues. what do you think you have to do? Because nobody likes to deal with a person who is always angry. They can't even resolve an issue.
For me, I don't see it as a woman thing. I think anger in itself is a huge problem. And for me, from the perspective I want to come from, if you have an anger issue, it is better you do assessment of yourself. For you to be able to deal with somebody who has anger, you must first know yourself. So you have to assess yourself, know what triggers the anger in you. Then you can have anger management for yourself. So you have to build yourself, make sure you solve your own anger issues, so that if you see someone exhibiting anger, you know how to treat the people.
But Franca, how do you react when you are angry, and how do you manage it, suppress it?
So when I'm really mad, I like to be quiet, because in anger you can say things that you regret later. In anger you can act in a way that you regret you acted that way, you know. So for me, I believe that at the speck of time, it's better to keep your calm and reflect. For all you know, whatever the issue is, you might be a pivotal point to it. You contributed. So you have to assess, go through yourself, and find out where the problem is really coming from before you even speak. Because if you speak in anger, you will regret.
You say you can't take your words back. But Ogo, we all have different partners, different personalities. So if you have a partner who is very emotional, easily triggered with the slightest thing, how do you manage that person?
Well, first you need to understand it's a flaw. Okay? There's nothing wrong with being emotional. But when it makes you do negative things, you've got to be very careful about it. The other thing is that we all do not heal at the same pace, you know, so we manage issues differently. But emotional intelligence is strongly recommended for everyone, not just because you're in a relationship, but because it adds a lot of value to your relationship. Now, quite a number of times, like you were saying, you get angry and you want to react to the spur of the moment. When you do, you come back to understand that you've spoiled a lot of things, okay? But when you do that reflection, you hold yourself back. So you know that there are just certain things you need to say. If the relationship is important to you, and if you want to be able to resolve whatever it is that has happened, okay, you need to take some time to deal with the issue. And so imagine that you're on the other side. So you are always on the receiving end, okay, of whatever it is that, you know, the people lash out and all that. You need to advise yourself. Why? An environment where people always get very angry and do nasty stuff becomes very toxic at the end of the day. It affects you, okay? And when you inherit some of those things, you find yourself doing it to other people without even realizing what you're doing. So it has a way of tearing you apart and turning you into something you don't want to be. So you need to come to a point where you understand where it is going, know how to address it properly, and still provide support for whoever it is who is willing to change. Willing to change, not because you want them to change, but willing to change because they see the need to change.
So you see, if you are in an environment that there is always anger, he mentioned it's toxic, because it can even affect your health. Because if there is always anger, you always tend to think. Your mind will just be wondering, what the heck is happening? What at all is wrong? And the moment you keep thinking, your metabolism stops functioning properly, because then you begin to feel sick. You will be asking yourself always. You even end up getting pressure, because you are always just going on and on trying to figure out what is going on. So that for that bait, I think is very accurate, and you will end up extending the anger to others without knowing, because it's like having a family that the father is always angry. Most of the time, subconsciously, the gentlemen in that family, they grow up picking that attitude without knowing.
It's so true.
So
they see it as their way of resolving conflict.
Yeah,
exactly.
And they don't realize that they're doing it. So you've seen your father always insult and come at your mother. you have a girlfriend and you throw that thing slightly, and then you not know until the girl like, do you know you are abusive, like verbally abusive, stuff like that. So they pick it up. You might say they are not looking, but they pick it up. Once you are in a toxic environment, whether you're good or whatever, it takes a toll on you. It will reflect on you.
Even for the mothers, you know, they get to a point where it might even begin to affect them too, and they begin to transfer it to the children.
Your children. So they're always worked out. So you want to find someone to. I get that. But then we're all talking about how to manage the anger and stuff like that. So maybe someone is watching us. What we said, they can relate to it, and then now they are thinking, what must I do so I don't overreact?
The first thing, and this is the recommendation I make to everyone, okay? We all need to come to a point where we see ourselves as persons and not as victims, you know, because quite a number of times we have that attitude of, it's been done to me, you know, it's been done to me. How could you do such a thing to me? And so your first reaction is, I'm a victim. And so you want to fight back, you want to push, you want to get angry because that is your own response and that is how you want to recover, okay? But there's something very significant that she said in her opening remarks, okay, that you come to that point where you reflect. And so you don't quickly react, mainly because you feel you're a victim. Now, when you're reflecting, you're seeing yourself as a person and not a victim. So you reflect and then you might suddenly discover, I actually played a role in this thing. Whatever it is that is getting me really angry, I actually triggered it without realizing. You know, there's a very interesting instance I like to use now, which a lot of people don't like very much. But I mean, the more I use it, the more I see that this is very, very true.
Tell us.
So you see a man or a woman that says, you know, they usually say my husband is cheating on me. So let me use a woman. Is that okay? You know, so
you are allowed.
So this is a woman that, you know, they were having a beautiful relationship, and then she began to have kids, and she allowed her children to compete with her husband to the point that she gave the place of her husband to her kids without realizing it. Now the man is feeling rejected, doesn't feel loved anymore. Every time he wants to come close, something goes bad because she's focusing on the children and not on him. And every time he tries to complain about it, she calls him petty. You know, can you imagine you're talking about the children? You know, that kind of thing. Now, it's happened for 3 or 4 years. And it's even gotten to a point where he wears a cloth and the woman does not even comment, does not even look at the color or any of those things. He gets to the office, has a secretary or a colleague that looks at him and says, nice shirt. It was a harmless, simple compliment, but he hasn't heard it in 4 years. He goes back home smiling and he wants to hear it again. So he dresses nice the next day and stands in her way so that he can hear it again. Okay? Where I come from, I have this very interesting proverb. Now from club, they enter dance. Okay? So now he's getting close to this person. As at that time, the infidelity has begun. But everybody is waiting for the consequence, which could be the sex.
Yeah.
Okay? But then they exchange numbers. Okay. And now they are chatting. And then information that he ordinarily would have shared with his wife is now sharing it with this lady.
Because he gives him the time,
because she gives him the attention. Okay? Now, it's growing, and then suddenly something happens. So let us even assume that nothing happens. But she just comes across this conversation that they are having, and it reads, I had a great time last night. We should do it again. And then she just flips. My husband is cheating on me. What she doesn't realize is that she actually contributed to it, but she's playing the victim. Do you see? But if she allows her personhood to play out, she sits back and reflects and wonders, this is not the man I married. How come he's doing this? Where is this coming from? And then maybe they can sit down and talk. Okay? Or she can even sit back and think. And it's not like saying it's all my fault or anything. Okay? But she's just saying to herself, if I hadn't given my children the place of my husband, maybe this would not have happened. So that in addressing it, even though you're hurt, in addressing it, you will address the right issues. If not, you're just going to lash out, he's cheating on me, you're wicked, you're nothing but a he-goat, you're a dog, and all of that, and you just spoil everything, and the man really doesn't see anything wrong with what he's doing.
But over with the scenario that you just said, you know, sometimes they say that when you're having difficulties in your marriages or relationship, you should talk to your partner. So you keep on talking to your partner and they are not listening. Should you be human enough to tell them, okay, so this thing that you are doing is really taking a toll on me.
Yeah.
The negative impact is going to have is I can be tempted to cheat. So like, should we bring out the negative? Because you're always like, I'm talking to you, I don't want it, I don't want this. Should we be human enough and tell them that if you continue like this, I might cheat on you?
So although you are addressing it to Ogo, I want to take it.
To take
You see, it's unfortunate that such things happen. But in the instance Ogo gave, you see, the woman wouldn't even look his way. And this mistake really does happen a lot these days, okay? And the man doesn't have to tell her. She doesn't see anything wrong with what she's doing. You see, so for me, I think that what the man could have done, because she's not giving her the time. I believe in letter writing. Me, at this, I still believe in letter writing. In fact, I still believe in emails. So for me, I think that the man could have left a note stating what he feels. And if the woman is, probably the woman is educated, let's assume she's educated, she might read it. And she will sit back and reflect, okay? But then, let's assume she's not educated. Then he must find another way of sending that message across. Sometimes, the way you send a message across can trigger an anger. So if this man wants to go and tell this woman that this you are doing it, and he doesn't handle it well, like you said, she'll tell you are petty. But then if you find the right time, there is something like giving an information, but the timing is always a factor. The kids go to school, you go to work. She has a phone. You can take one of your lunch breaks and call her. Just tell her that this and this and this that is going on is having a toll on me. Can we have a discussion? Can we schedule a time? Can we hang out with all the kids? Can we talk? For me, communication is always key in every relationship. And not just communication, but good communication, okay? So the communication must be timely. It must be apt. You must get it right. Because once you don't get it right, you mess things up.
And if I may, very, very, very quickly, you know, just to add to what she said, I also, I'm very heavy on the, you know, African context, okay? And the fact that when we're talking about a relationship or a marriage in the African context, it's not just a union between two people that are in love. It's also a union of, you know, between families. And couples need to learn to be accountable, okay? Because when you know yourself, you also need to know the person you're dealing with. And there are just some people that are like, you know, like the Ghana Railway, one track, okay? And it doesn't matter how you try to communicate. It doesn't matter what you want to say. And just like what you were adding, if you don't do this, I might cheat. They will immediately say, oh, you're already cheating. That is why it's crossing your mind.
Because sometimes you can talk. The talk is not doing anything.
Exactly.
So you have to tell them what might follow. Be human enough.
Exactly. Which it's important, but then the African context produces a system of accountability. So you can speak to her mother or her father or somebody that she's accountable to. Now, when you speak to someone she's accountable to, they call her and they tell her, I hope you know what you're doing. And the people will speak with her, advise her. She comes back home and maybe comes to realize that I didn't know that this is what I was doing. She comes back to apologize, and then you guys can have that talk to plan the home.
So a partner might get angry that, oh, so you moved from a matrimonial home. You went to wash my dirty.
No.
That's why it's important that you know who you're dealing with.
So you see, Ogo, in our Ghanaian culture, in every marriage, there is always someone who stands behind the marriage. So they say, who is standing behind this marriage? From the lady's side. And the man's side, who is behind this marriage. And the advice they give you is, if you face a challenge and you hit everywhere and you are not finding solution, talk to this person. So it is there. If you forgo it, if you think you can stand on your own and you forgo it, then there is a problem. But once you see that you are not married to just the man, but you are married to the family, and because of that, you can easily feel free and talk to that particular person they introduced to you, you save your marriage most of the time.
When you are having an argument, should you focus on the thing that they have done that you want to address, or just say that, oh, of course, they are good people, this might just be one or two things? How do you balance it?
It's also very dangerous to make excuses even when you know you shouldn't be. But the problem is that some of the times when we want to address issues, we're not addressing the relationship, we're addressing our interests. And when you're addressing your interests, you will always get it wrong. Because before you know it, you're hitting at the person's personality. You're speaking to the person as though the person has never done anything good without realizing it.
That's it.
But when the focus is the relationship, okay, you are careful about the words you use, how you say it, because your intention is not to, talk down the person. Your intention is to correct and not to accuse. So you're addressing the issue, okay? Because anybody can make mistakes, anybody at all. Even you that is talking, you've done many terrible things yourself. And so once you're not paying attention to the interest, do you know how it makes me look? Do you know what you did to me? And there are just so many things that you say, and then it's like, where is all this coming from? Because in the process, you make that person look so bad that they even look at themselves in the mirror and say, am I really like this?
Yeah, so just to the people that when they have issues in a marriage or whatever, I'll just put it, they throw the baby away with the bath and water.
Exactly, which is wrong.
What would you say should be the right thing to do?
If there is an argument, you ask me what I would do if there is anger. Anger and arguments, they move hand in hand, because anytime there is anger, the likelihood that there is going to be a heated argument is great. So all is dependent on you, the two people who are having this argument. Now, if it is between a married couple, I don't believe in building a wall, a barricade, trying to say, let me keep to myself. Because when you decide to say, let me keep to myself, what you are doing then is, you are making the issue worse. I don't believe also in sweeping things under the carpet. No, I don't. Why? Because if you don't talk about issues, they will escalate to a point that it will be beyond redemption.
True.
So it's always better for me that you find a conducive time. I always say time because timing matters. So if there is a heated argument, I rather we all calm down. So I will give you space, you give me space. And you ask, then how long should the space be? It depends on the magnitude of the argument, whatever that brought up that argument, okay? The magnitude will tell you the duration of the space you need to think. When you are having that space, you think independently. You are able to reflect on what is really causing this argument. This cry that we are fighting about, what is it about?
Franca, but someone can interpret give me space as a breakup.
No. No.
They say when you get the space, that's the time that you give yourself.
You see, okay, now probably I'll say that's why we're having this conversation. So that people will understand the fact that when there are issues, when there are arguments, sometimes giving a space matters, but it shouldn't be a long space. That's what I'm saying.
So how long is so long?
So for me, if it's a very serious issue, just give yourself a day or two. That is my perspective. A day or two for me, I will think, I will reflect, I would go back on the issues. I'll look at everything, pros and cons. I'll look at your good side. I'll compare your good side vis-a-vis your bad side and see, is this something I can still deal with? Is this
so
something
meaning
I
the
can
space
still
that they are
live
giving
with?
1 or 2 days, you shouldn't call your ex and say that,
Which ex?
can we
Okay.
meet and
Which ex? Okay.
But
You see, now she's talking about relationship matter. You see, if you're talking about marriage and
people are
relationship.
married though, but they have people or somebody that when they are married, they go and release their stress. Let's not pretend like there's something like that.
Well, it's happening.
Yes, but then it depends. That's why, just as she said, the knowledge of self, and I'll also like to add the knowledge of the person you're dealing with. There are sometimes there are people when they are angry with you, you just notice from the actions they are taking. There are people that are when they are angry with you, they want you to know what you've done. They want you to figure it out. Okay? My wife might never come to you and say, I'm angry with you. But the way she bangs the door.
Only banging the door.
Yeah. The moment she bangs the door, you know that nigga, you arrange yourself. You understand?
Okay. I like where the conversation is going, but let's take a quick break.
Thanks, man.
Okay. Ogo, you hold on to that. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, Moans and Cuddles continues.
From the dawn of time, people have engaged in several businesses. With the onset of technology and innovation, life has relatively been made easier. By using debit or credit cards,
mobile banking.
Thank you. And your favorite, mobile money?
tech has indeed married business. On BizTech, we spend time with faces behind known and upcoming businesses in the country.
Learn more about the new technologies and innovation,
as well as find out about the trending issues in the world of business.
Join us as we serve you with a variety of compelling interviews, projects and others right here on Ghana Web TV.
You're welcome back from that quick break. You're still watching Moans and Cuddles on Ghana Web TV, and I am Paulina Dedaa Opoku. So I just want to acknowledge my makeup artist, Kiki Sadiq. Thanks for this special makeup. You can follow her on Instagram at Kiki_Sadiq. So my guest who are helping me do the discussion, Ogochukwu Inueke. He's a relationship consultant, and Franca. Franca is a social commentator and an HR practitioner. Franca, I like how the conversation is going, but if you just join in, we're discussing how to get your relationship back on track after a messy fight. So here's it. There are so many ways that people resolve issues, but then we cannot talk about how to resolve without putting in makeup sex. Makeup sex. Okay. It happens in marriages, it happens in relationships. Do you think that makeup sex is the right way to resolve an issue?
Well, there are so many ways you can make up. It depends on the person you're dealing with. There are some people that are not, they don't place a lot of premium on sex, and so you cannot use sex to make up per se. There are people that actually, even in the midst of their misunderstanding, they have a tradition in their relationship, okay, where sex will never be used as a weapon of control. So even while the misunderstanding is going on, sex is going on. But even after the sex, the misunderstanding is still there and unresolved. Okay. Yeah, so we're all different. Yeah. So as you grow in your relationship, you have the responsibility of knowing the person you're dealing with. Okay? So my relationship with Franca does not necessarily have to be how Pauline's relationship is, because Franca and Pauline are two different people. So with Pauline, make-up sex works. But with Franca, it could just be sit down, have a conversation, cuddle and watch a movie, allow her to twist your ear a little and say you're a very stubborn man, and the matter is over. And so if you're pushing the person for the make-up sex, the sex is still going on even while the misunderstanding is going on, so it's not a big deal.
Franca, should the make-up sex be before you've resolved the issue? Or maybe you know that that's your partner's weakness, so once you are doing your things, you don't want to be calm down, then you introduce the makeup sex.
Weakness, sex. Anyway, I'm trying to find a correlation between the two, because for me personally, makeup sex doesn't gel, because I believe that issues must be addressed if you want to move ahead. But for those that I think are okay with the makeup sex bit, as you're saying, then of course, if you know your partner, as Ogo is saying, so if I know my partner that, I'm sure if I am able to give him some cool sex, right, he's going to be okay and he's going to let issues pass by, then that's fine. But to be frank with you, I believe it's better you resolve the issue than to try to cover it up with sex, because it will still crop up again. If the issue is resolved and you cement it, you have a party over that resolution with sex, then now we are talking. But you can't just use the sex
To sweep things under the carpet.
to sweep as your broom, to sweep issues. No, it doesn't work like
We'll
that.
come back to bite you.
and there are some people that actually use sex to create the atmosphere to address the misunderstanding. So it depends on the person you're dealing with, you know, and when that happens, it works for them. But then when you use sex as a weapon of control, that's when you hear people say, we will not have sex until this matter is addressed.
But he can get
Those
it
are the
elsewhere.
people that, yeah,
Yeah.
and those are the people that need make-up sex. Okay, because now the matter has been resolved. Okay, now let's have
Let's
sex.
do it.
I think it has its own downsides, and you know, it shouldn't even be, if you ask me.
But then, should you consider getting back with a partner who constantly beats you up anytime when there's a misunderstanding?
This one is beating. It means the men beat the women more. Men, hardly will you see women beating. A few.
That is the speculation.
That is
the speculation.
A few women will beat them.
No, you see, the
No,
statistics.
wait, what stats?
On the one hand,
We cannot-
no. On the one hand, there's a statistic that said that men beat women a lot. On the other hand, there's a statistics that also say that men don't report physical abuse.
Exactly, because they are shy. I'll come there. You please let me try to get
Please,
this
feel free.
angle.
Feel
then
free.
I'll get that angle too.
Yeah, man.
So you see, if say it's a man that is being abusive, abuse is a no-no for me in a relationship, because the moment it's abusive and it can cost your life. In fact, I think did the Bible give any grounds for divorce? It's just infidelity.
Yeah, but it depends. Infidelity, the original lexicon
but
that
then-
talked about infidelity
but then-
actually said when you are not performing your moral obligations. And so if you're abusive,
You are not performing moral obligation.
No,
exactly.
you're not.
So I was even going there. So
Yes.
I was like, yes. So it says if you are infidel, and that's the grounds, and that is what most Christians hold on to, and because of that they stay in certain abusive marriages. But they forget also that the Bible says you should love the person as you love your own self. Will the man pick his hand and slap himself and feel comfortable? Will he slap himself and still feel good? Will he hit himself and feel good? So if a man is doing that to you, for me, I think it's better you just think twice.
Interestingly, you know, there are philosophers that actually believe that pain is the way to reach wherever they are going.
Ah.
So I hope you're not married to that kind of person.
Well, pain.
That's the thing.
I think they are stoics, or I
That's
don't remember what they are
what
called.
I hear. I hear most women want to be beaten and pampered.
No,
Yes.
those are masochists. Yeah, that is also not a normal
It's
behavior.
happening though.
Those are
Sometimes it's
masochists.
happening.
It's not normal.
So for me, I think it's just not proper to be abusive. The one who is being abused must seek help, and the one who is abusing must also seek help, because it is not a normal thing. If you're abusive in a relationship, it is just not normal.
You see people in a beautiful relationship, but outside everybody's like, hey, you left him. Like, he's the man that everybody would dream to be with.
It's
But then
outside
deep inside,
gentility, home cry.
That's it.
So you
He beats
portray
up.
beautiful thing outside.
But you know, and I don't want to hold brief for men or for women, but as I continue in this work, and I can dare say that I've done it for quite a while, you know, as I continue in this work, I am beginning to see that whether it is physical abuse, psychological abuse, or emotional abuse, the impact is almost the same. So you have a man that beats his wife, wrong, okay? I mean, it's a no-no. But you also have a man or a woman that is going through emotional abuse, is driving down the street and doesn't know he's driven into another lane because he's messed up. So abuse on any level or any form is a no-no, and it's something that we should all try. You see, the moment we start looking for an edge in the relationship, you want to have an upper hand in a relationship, the moment you begin to think that way, abuse is inevitable. And so it's something that we need to always make sure that we're dealing with.
Okay. But someone would say everybody deserves a second chance. So, the abuser will change. Maybe he beats me 1 or 2. I'm hoping that since I involved our families, since I told him that if you do that again, I'm going to report him to the police, he will change. So I'm going to give the person a second chance. Should you say that abusers should be given second chance?
Some deserve some change, really. Because the Bible says it's only a fool who say, I will not change. It's only a fool. That's a right. That's what it says. So I believe that some change.
Yeah, but a second chance must proceed out of an event. It doesn't just happen because the person says, I'm sorry. It must proceed out of an event. Okay, number one, the person that was abused needs to heal. Okay, the abuser also needs to heal. But then you just come and say, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. There has to be proof that it will not happen again. Okay, so that is why when abuse sets in, any form of abuse, the moment, okay, the physical one is that, it's not nice. Okay, but any kind of abuse, people should separate, take some time to process it, and know if they want to continue to be in that relationship or not.
But then in marriages, when your partner is abusing you, the first thing that they resort to is involving the family. There's been news, like it's always in the news report. Oh, the family knew. The father knew that he was beating, her husband was always beating my daughter. So it's like the family knows. Is it time that women or men come to think of it that it's not about a family matter? I will take you to the police station. I will report you to the appropriate authorities. They will come and arrest you, whether you are the mother or the father of my child. The fact that you beat me, the law must deal with you.
Okay, so the first thing, if you want to look at it from the legal perspective, okay, yes, okay, and that's what we have DOFSU, and that's what DOFSU does. That's number one. Number two, people that know abuse was going on and cover it become accomplices. And
you die before they come and give their story. I advise her. So
in the realm of criminal law, you're actually a principal offender. You're as guilty as the person that was actually doing the abusing. But beyond that, when you come, I like to look at it from the African perspective a lot. Okay? Yes. Now, do you know, that's why people should be very careful how they go into unions. Okay? You want to be a living lover. Understand that there are risks with being a living lover, because there are certain relationships when you create, what you actually have succeeded in doing is making your family voiceless. Because as far as your family is concerned, there is a proper way through which a woman ought to be married and taken to another man's house. And if you have denied yourself and your family that setup, okay, it's as if you're exposed, because no right thinking man or woman would sit back and watch you molest their daughter. It can cause a community clash. Okay? And no right thinking man will come to your house to take you as wife and see your brothers with their six packs and their muscles and all of that, take you to his house and be slapping you left, right, and center. He wants to die. The moment he thinks about it, he will even see his future. That's the truth. That's why some of these things happen. That is why it's important that a woman is married properly, especially in the African perspective. Don't say, oh, we love each other. As long as we love each other, yeah, we will just do. We have to be very accountable. Be married properly so that he knows you come from a home that will be willing to fight for you if anything goes wrong and has your back.
So then we've spoken about all the negative aspects of a fight in a relationship. But one would say that it's good that we have this fight. So I know, maybe before we are planning to get married, so I know how you react. Keke, you want to raise your hand. The slightest thing, you want to insult me, insult my mother, insult my whole generation. Our fight's good so that the person will sit by and know that, okay, this is how my partner reacts. I'm not thinking that I can deal with such a behavior. Franca?
That is why I believe in courtship. Now we've tend to give it a different meaning. But that is the time we get to know each other. So when you know each other, definitely, once you are studying each other, someone will say some of the attitudes will not show up. Well, that's fine. But at least you have to note the most important thing. So I say, when you're having a date, when you're dating someone or courting someone, make sure you ask important questions. Our ladies won't ask important questions of late. They ask very, very vague and shallow questions, and they are okay because they think that the man is going to support me financially or the man is going to give me everything that I want. They only think about the material aspect. They forget that this marriage or relationship that is going to go into marriage is a long-term thing if you really want to attain what you want to attain. So for me, I think that once you are studying and you get to know the person and you feel that this attitude I can live with, this I can't live with, weigh them. See which of the good sides are more. Make sure that the good sides are what you can live with. The bad sides that are there you can live with. If you think you can't, I don't think there is a need for you to venture, because eventually you will still opt out. If you can't, you can't. If it's something you can't tolerate, you can't. But if you can, then it means that you are ready to work with the man towards it. Either he changes or he doesn't change, you can live with it.
And you know, just to continue from where she stopped, I recommend fights in relationships. Fights are in categories.
Okay, break them down.
Fights are in categories. Misunderstandings are perfect for a relationship. As a matter of fact, when I am speaking to couples, I ask them if they fight and how many times they do. And the moment they say, oh, we don't fight, we've never fought, and all of that, it's an abusive relationship. Somebody has an upper hand and somebody is not expressing himself or herself. Check it very carefully. A misunderstanding is bound to happen. You're coming from two different extremes. Your desires, your options, your approach to life, your choices, they are different. And these are the things that cause the misunderstandings. Okay? You like cold food, he likes hot food. He comes back late, so by the time you finish cooking, by the time he comes back, the food is already cold. Now you have to get up and all those small things. They cause fights. You know? So fight is healthy. It is the responsibility of the couple to learn the maturity and the emotional intelligence to resolve conflicts, okay, or to resolve misunderstandings, okay? Anything can cause a misunderstanding, okay? So this is a glass of juice. Drink it, I won't drink it. Drink it, is it your juice? You've served me, allow me to drink it when I'm ready to drink it. It can cause a misunderstanding, you know? So people are different. It's important because the more you have misunderstandings, the more you learn about each other, okay? And yes, it's important to know the person you're dealing with, but people, because of their moods, the atmosphere with, you know, that they are speaking with, the changes in life, you know, we all transit. So those things will continue to happen, and how prepared we are for them, okay? So those things will bring up misunderstandings. You resolve them, you get closer, you know, you respect each other the more, and then you move on. The one that is dangerous, okay, is when it gets toxic. Because like you were saying, you insult me, you insult my parents, you insult all my family members, you insult where I come from, and all of that. The problem is not the person that offended you. The problem is how you manage offense. So it's not with the person. Okay, it's how you manage offense. And so we have the responsibility to make sure that we're managing offense, or that we manage offense properly.
But should you break up in every fight? And as a woman or a man, what should you say that with this I cannot tolerate? Example, cheating.
I don't like to say this because I'm a woman, and every time I say this, I have other women fighting me.
Franca, say it.
You know, I know there are a few faithful ones out there who stick to one man, one wife. I know there might be. Yes. And also, what I say is not to hold forth for men. It's their nature, for Christ's sake. So for me, I think that it's you, the woman, you must understand. After all, the thing is, the man isn't going away. Doesn't he come home? He comes home.
What if he comes with a HIV?
You see, listen, this is what this is what the issue is.
Oh my word. Okay.
So what I believe in is, I always say that there is nothing like a Bible-trained conscious man. There may be other religions. I'm a Christian, so let me say, a Bible-trained conscious man, when he's acting on any level, thinks about the repercussion. So if he wants to do something, he will think, okay, so what would the repercussion be? Okay, I want to have a side chick. I'm going to cheat. What would the repercussion be? What tone will it have on my family? You see, so if the person is thinking like that, it's different. But for me, I think that you don't run away because a man cheats.
I say that, but I brought that up. But anytime I say that, I'm like, let's face reality. This is the day we cheat.
So you ask yourself the question.
Like,
see, that is why I said.
Settle for less.
That is why. No, you're not settling for less, Ogo. That is why I said, have patience. Digest the circumstance. What are you, the woman, doing wrong? So maybe the man comes home, as Ogo said in his initial example he gave. You are giving him, he wants to touch you, you give attitude. He wants to do this for no reason. In your own mood swings, you tend to neglect. You tend to neglect, even in relationship, my dear. Even in boyfriend girlfriend relationship.
I'm not come for the list.
Is there?
I can't deny you. It's not official. It's not officially yours.
I'm not even talking about that one. It
Which
can
one?
be anything. Your boyfriend comes to your house. You've cooked for him. He come and said, "Oh, I've eaten something he doesn't eat." You say, "I've wasted my time to cook for you." You didn't eat. The argument will start.
He doesn't have to eat your food.
He doesn't have to eat
Please
your
tell
food
me
either.
that you are not hungry. Don't
No,
let
but
me
no,
invest
it is
my
not your
time and
responsibility.
energy.
No, it is not your responsibility
in
to
my
cook for
house,
a man
when
you're
a
not married
guest
to.
is coming, we do the needful.
No. This is not the situation that you are painting.
Okay, that one. Okay, well, that one is different.
Yes, because we are
It's not
talking
your
about
responsibility. You owe him nothing. He owes you nothing.
You said a cheating man.
Exactly.
So I'm assuming a boyfriend that is cheating or a husband that is cheating. So if your boyfriend is cheating and for you think that, he's cheating with somebody.
I think we should put the word cheating into
In
its
the
proper context.
Yeah, a context.
Okay.
Cheating on what?
Yeah, first,
He
that's number one.
can cheat with a woman. He can cheat with even his television. He can cheat with
No, this
his
is what you're
books.
talking about, a human. Oh.
Yes.
A
okay.
human.
But then you need to we mistake polygamy for promiscuity. I guess it's another conversation for another day.
Polygamy,
But polygamy means you've married the person.
yes,
Yes.
yes. Then I
Two
understand
wives.
that this
But-
is what.
So that is not cheating.
No, but here's the situation. Here's the situation. A lot of people are in relationship with polygamous men, okay, will not have it, will not accept it, will not even agree for the process to bring in another wife to begin. And that is why some of the times, for instance, and this is also what I do when I do with the consultancy and all of that, you're in a relationship with somebody that is capable of becoming king in his community.
You expect it to be.
You know he's gonna be king.
He will have a two wives.
Yes, at the end
He'll
of the
have
day,
a
he's
wife.
gonna, but you say we love each other and what, and then the moment you see that stool wife coming, you say he's cheating on me. Everybody says he's cheating on me after all I've done for him and all of that. There are some people, and like she was saying, people say you hide and all of that. The truth of the matter is that if your relationship is important to you and you're paying attention, there are so many signs you will see before you get married, and then you can make up your mind whether you want to be with this person or not. The thing is that we don't pay attention to them.
Franca, that brings me. You were mentioning that that men, it's like their nature they'll cheat. Should men too accept that a woman, because a woman will cheat on his man, and the man cannot understand another man touched my woman. Like he's so disgusted.
You see?
Franca, you said no.
You see, hold.
But we should be objective.
No.
What is good for another is good for.
Before Franca says something, forgive me. We must understand, okay? There are certain cultures in Africa, like in South Africa, okay? Polyandry is understood as a culture, okay? But to the best of my knowledge, polyandry is not a West African culture. But in South Africa, as a matter of fact, now it's in the laws. Yes, it's in the laws of South Africa that a woman can have more than one husband. Okay, so some of those things are cultural. Okay, some of those things are cultural, and some of the times we want to make it look like it never happened in the West, and now they are teaching us how to handle a woman and all of that. Okay, they have more side chicks than we do here, and they are very, very polygamous as well. It's just that they hide it. That's why they would rather have mistresses, and that's the problem with a lot of our people when we learn from the West. Okay, would you rather be another wife or be somebody else's secret? Because a mistress is somebody's secret.
Let's address that one. Can women too also, the fact that let's say we are normalizing that, okay, a man would definitely cheat. Should we also normalize that a woman too can definitely cheat and stop saying that, oh, she cheated, then I'm backing out. Meanwhile, you cheated 55 times, 70 times, and she just let go. One time she cheated, you are making noise.
So the thing is, I will not want to engage in that situation. You know what? You know why? Every time we try to equalize, the intention is not to save the relationship. The intention is to destroy it.
I do.
Yeah, if you do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there are other situations where men are waiting, say, okay, if they do, me too, I will do so.
But that is why for
dangerous.
me I don't believe in women doing so. For me, okay, well, I don't know, but the perspective I see our culture, like the culture we are in. When I was growing up and as I joined womanhood, I don't see women cheating as a good thing. No. For me, I see it as something that
men
brings.
Is normal.
Yeah, I see it as something that brings a lot of curses and it doesn't make the man go on. It will bring your man down. For me, I think if your husband is cheating, the best way for you to do is just let him see. Just find out if maybe it's something you are missing.
Is it shorter you want?
Or might not be necessarily an outlook thing. It might be something inward. Maybe something about you that he saw from the beginning.
Which is not
changing that you are not aware of.
You are size 6, now
so
you are 40.
So you just check yourself. That one, I'm sure the men are now beginning to understand that childbirth brings a whole lot of changes to the. Now they are beginning to appreciate it more. Maybe the youth of today don't, but I think most men are beginning to appreciate the fact that women give birth and a lot of changes come to the body. But I think that we women too, we have to assess ourselves. I know somebody will not agree with me, but when you assess yourself and you think that your husband is cheating, there is always a way to turn him back home.
All right.
He can always turn back home.
You hold on to that. But before we go on a quick break with me, I'll still maintain. If you are in for a one man, one woman, stick to it. The fact that you start cheating, you cannot normalize cheating for men, and when it comes to men, you want to complain. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, the show continues.
We table issues relating to the arts and entertainment for a riveting discussion, of course, without fear nor favor.
The question the presenter asked them was a dumb question. You need to speak the fact and move.
Varied views. We agree to disagree.
So I would disagree with everything you said. I think that he's a smart guy. I think what he did.
No, but I also said he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
I guess that I'm waiting for the what next. Yeah,
I don't think that we have to wait for what next.
It sometimes gets confrontational, but that's the beauty of the game.
Today you deny funny face. It's not my brother. Today you deny funny face. I don't know him. You don't know funny face. It's not my brother. You don't know funny face.
It's a package. We meet, we sit, we dialogue, we learn, we progress. My name is Benefo Boabin Abrantepa, a proud blogger, and this is my forum.
You're welcome back from that quick break. You're still watching Moans and Cuddles on Ghana Web TV. So we're discussing how to get your relationship back on track after a messy fight. So God, this one is for you. Should you consider patching up with an old lover, or you should say that once it's done thing?
After marriage.
Well, maybe now maybe you have a child and the person also has a child, or maybe it didn't work. You're going separately.
The various marriages did not work.
Yes, it did not work. Or maybe in a relationship, maybe for me who is not married, I have an ex who is like, I'm like, maybe we can patch things up and come together. It's not any big deal. Yeah. Is it advisable? Once it's done, we should call it quits.
Quite a number of times when misunderstandings happen, people go their separate ways. It doesn't mean they've broken up. The relationship is still alive and it's still happening. Okay? It might be 2 years, it might be 5 years, but they always find a way of coming back. Always find a way of coming back, you know, because a relationship is started through definition. So if you're going to break it, you must break it through definition. The person is actually not your ex. No, you're actually still in a relationship with the person. So what you've done is you're in a relationship with someone, but you've married another, or you walk away from this person, you go into another relationship. You're actually just multiplying your situation and duplicating relationships.
Once you don't get closure, it means
exactly the relationship is still on. And that is why that attraction, all those things still happen. And so if you have a misunderstanding, and that is why I very much agree with Franca when she said, think about it so that you can address it properly. Okay? Because the rates at which we heal is also different. And there are some things that might not mean so much to you, but it means a lot to me. And I'm just saying to myself, if this thing happens 5 years from now, I might just find myself killing you. You know, so I'd rather not, go into this thing. This is best that we break up. So we sit down and talk about it and say, I'm not angry with you anymore, but I think this is not going to work. And I'm being realistic between you and I. It's best that we break it up. And then you two of you agree. It might not be very smooth because the other person might be hurting and say you're breaking up with me because of this little thing, but you're breaking up. Okay? Then you can move on into another relationship. If you don't do that and all you did is I'm angry with you and you pack your bags or carry your notebook or whatever it is you have around and you move and you think the relationship is over, it's not over.
But Franca, would you is it advisable to patch things up with an ex?
You're still mentioning an ex. Everyone will go explain that there's not an ex.
Oh no, this one is really an ex. Maybe
like
you parted
someone
ways.
you broke up with.
You broke up officially.
If you break up officially, you went separate ways. You went to explore other alternatives.
So your wife
and then it didn't work for both of you. And then you realize that, oh, I made a mistake making this person go. And you also said, oh, I also made a mistake of making this person go. And those two marriages are broken up properly. Then, of course, if you want to rekindle, I don't see anything wrong with it. I think you can still have a sit, talk about where the loopholes were, discuss it. Discussion is very key. So if you want to still come back and continue from where you left, then you have to discuss.
And that's very important.
Have a date.
Because that reunion is not a guarantee that you won't break up again.
Exactly.
And it's not a guarantee that that misunderstanding will not happen again. Have you grown enough to be able to manage it and still be in the relationship? You know, so that talk, that conversation is unavoidable. It's something that you must do.
Into details.
Into details.
Find
break
out
it down
what
properly.
really was wrong.
Exactly.
Find the problem. In fact, root cause analysis.
Yes.
You must go to the root. Dig down. What was there?
And don't
Because
always
if you
make
don't
it
get
about
it,
the other person.
you don't get to
so
the
you
root.
have to analyze
That's
yourself.
why that's the roots. That's the roots. You know, you can't always, you're like this, you're like this, you're like this, you're like this, you're like this. What about me? What am I bringing to the table? How did I contribute to what happened? You know, so while I'm expecting you to do this, I will do this. I'm assuring you that I'll do A, B, C, D. Then you can work together. If not,
Yeah, so there have been so many separations, maybe just two people. They've been back and forth like 5 times. Finally, they patch things up and then they are married. And this marriage, it lasts perfectly. Like, it's like they've seen it all, they've addressed all the issues. So now it's the final thing. But one will say, how much is too much? How many times should I say, with this one, dear, I'm not coming back again? Should we have a specific...
The marriages will not work. Because for me, I think that right from the inception of a marriage to the end of a marriage, there is always arguments, there is always fight. In the most beautiful of marriages, the fairy tale marriages that we see, they all have problems. But that is where the maturity comes to play. If you've you've seen through your partner, you understand your partner, you come to terms with what all of you really want. So even if you are facing the challenges, you are able to face it head on because you know that at the end of the day, the issue will be resolved.
and you know what Franca said now is very, very important, because there are some people that are frustrated in relationships merely because whatever issue they are trying to deal with has been on for 15 years and it's not resolved.
Nobody wants that drama.
But have you ever wondered why some of the times you have a misunderstanding with your father, you run to your mother to complain and your mother laughs at you and say, so you don't know your father by now? And you're 35 and you're the youngest. It means this thing has been going on for 50 years and your father hasn't changed. The fight will continue. And if they live to be 100, on their 100th they go fight. I mean, it's in all of us. That's the beauty of marriage and wonderful. Exactly. You know, and so it's not just about the person changing. It's also about you having the emotional intelligence to know how to manage some of the things that you're looking at. The thing is the person putting in effort. And it's not just about the effort. Are you providing the support that is necessary to bring about that change? Okay, so it's a bit of this and a bit of that, a bit of this and a bit of that. But always remember that fights will continue to happen in relationships. And so you must be realistic about your expectations. For instance, in my case, okay, I've been married for 17 years, and I can tell you for a fact, I still haven't learned how to study without scattering papers. I haven't learned it.
Even though there's always an anger.
with it?
Yeah. I haven't learned it. And of course she's not.
She's not.
No. It's always something that she'll pick it up and it will go somewhere. You know, so now I've also learned that when she's not around and I'm doing that, the moment I hear she's coming back from the door, I say, I'm sorry. I have never said I'll do better. I'll say, I go gather around.
But this sorry, you know, because the sorry has become so rampant now, sorry is like a cliche. It's like we don't really value the sorry any longer.
But the essence of the sorry is not, it is not a statement that is made out of, remorse or anything. No, don't get upset. Don't get upset. This is the situation. Okay, don't get upset. I will resolve them. So just pretend this is not here. Overlook it for now. In another 2 hours, everything will come back to normal. Funny as it might be, there are some people that actually tell their spouses, okay, like Bill Gates. Let us use the people that a lot of people want to be like. Bill Gates made his wife understand, okay, that there's another woman. For as long as he was married to Melinda, he was having that vacation with this other woman. And nobody has said that is the reason they broke up. So we cannot put it on it, okay? But they had that understanding. It wasn't happening on her blind side.
It was a take it or leave it affair.
So that is the kind of sorry I'm talking about. So you know. So I go fix after vacation. I go come back house.
All right. I get that. But then can a relationship get back to its former state after a terrible fight? Can it get back? You know, someone who said, I've forgiven you. These are the things that, as you were saying, the root cause, you've addressed all the issues. Can it get back to its former state?
Yes.
It can.
Okay. I like you hear you guys say yes, it can.
Yes, it can.
It can.
Yes, it can.
Okay.
It depends on the people. And like we say, when a relationship goes through difficulty, maybe as a result of a fight, a separation happens. What the couple needs to understand is that the separation is not an indication that you go and now do whatever it is that you want to do. It's an opportunity for you to think about what happened and see how to resolve it. It's at that time that you can also make up your mind whether this relationship can go on or not. So after 4 months, some people after a year, she was even saying 2 years, they still come back together and say, you know what, we can talk now. And I think that A, B, C, or D is how I would like for things to be.
Sometimes it's a difficult decision, especially when there's this cheating bit, which of course I don't really side, but it's happening, so let me still talk about it. If for this cheating bit and you think that, oh, he's cheated so much I can't forgive, then of course you have no business coming back, because forgiveness is something that you are doing, that you are not going back on that. In fact, you're not supposed to refer him to that incident again.
People do that all the time.
But it's not supposed to happen. It means you haven't healed. You see, once you are referring, it means you haven't healed.
That's the word. You can forgive and still not heal. You can forgive.
I'm forgiving you, but
yeah, it takes you a while to heal, and it's difficult.
It's difficult.
Our levels are different,
That is where the maturity comes to play.
Exactly, and the emotional intelligence.
And once you say, I have forgiven you, once you say, I admit the problem that happened partly was my fault. Probably I wasn't doing this right. I don't believe in apportioning blame. I don't. So say you think about the whole issue, you say, oh, it's partly my fault. Oh, D, I'm sorry. Maybe the man cheated, but you say, D, I'm sorry I pushed you out there. And then you say, I've forgiven you.
That is after a careful assessment. It's not just your, you're just accepting.
And you say, let's make it work. It means that it's from your innermost of in, and you're really going to let it go. And once it's from you, within you, you do a self-assessment, it's deep down within you, then of course, things can work out. But when you think you cannot forgive and let go, I don't think it's because you keep referring him. And men with their ego, he'll be pissed with you. And one day he'll tell you to hell with you.
Every day you're talking about, I said, I'm sorry, only you.
Now the other thing is that, you see, people must have the right ear. People must have the right ear to listen. Some of the times, what you should be hearing is correction and not accusation.
But correction, not accusation.
Not accusation. Because some of the times, it's important to point people to the path they are treading, which is going to cause the thing to happen again. Okay? So when you see that the person is treading that path, it is your responsibility to point it out to the person. When you're doing that, it's not like you're bringing up the issue again, and you're not accusing the person, but you're saying, sweetheart, if you remember very clearly, this is actually what led to that other thing happening. And so please be careful. This is a red flag. This is a danger signal. Please deal with it. Let us work together. You understand? It's also an indication that you now understand the person you're dealing with properly. Okay? But when people haven't healed and they understand that the issue is healing, it's not a good time to walk away from a relationship. You can ask for a separation, but don't break up. because you love the person. That's actually why it could be
that way.
yes, it could be one of the reasons you're feeling that way. So give it time, allow yourself to heal. But there's also the mistake that people make, and I think it's because of our socialization. We believe that healing is synonymous with forgetting that the event ever happened. It's not true. The human man was not created to forget. You will never forget. Okay? But you can remember it without bitterness. And so I know couples that, cheating, as you've put it throughout the show, happened. But they can actually sit down, talk about it, laugh about it, and use themselves as examples to other people. It means they now remember without bitterness. And it's a beautiful place to be. Okay, so when you heal, you'll actually see the signs. And like she was saying, you cannot heal in isolation. Because while you're healing, the other person needs to heal. If that person is not healing, then the person is not providing the support that is necessary for you to heal. So you don't do it alone. The talk, that conversation that she talked about, is one of the most important aspects of resolving, a fight or a situation.
So in conclusion, I want, as we've said a lot, and I know the viewers have taken a thing or two from it. In conclusion, let's list the things you have to do if you want to get your relationship back on track after a messy fight. I'm going to start with you, Franca.
Okay, so for me, I will say, 1, you have to do a retrospective assessment of yourself. 2, you don't have to build any stone walls around you. You don't have to be quiet, timid, isolated, being all quiet, because that can actually destroy the relationship further. I can say you also have to learn to forgive and let go after those assessments that you have done. And once you're able to let that go, then you can look forward to building your relationship well on the solid rock. Let me put it that way.
And I agree with everything she said. I'll just add 1 or 2 things. The first I would like to add, and that retrospective assessment is absolutely important, and it's strongly recommended that everyone starts from there. Okay? Now, people express their angers differently. And so some of the times we might be looking for anger in the place of argument, but it might not happen. It might never happen. Okay? So it's also important to understand how it plays out with the person that you're dealing with. Okay? Find an opportunity to talk about it. Allow yourself to, think about it. Not heal, but come to a certain level of your senses, so that you can have a conversation. Okay? Never use the tradition in the relationship as a weapon of control. There are some men, when they get angry, they reduce chop money, or they even stop giving money at all. Okay? There are some women, when they get angry, they use sex as a weapon of control. Okay, sex begins to happen. In fact, they clean up the timetable for sex, and it may be once a year or something, or not at all. So the moment you begin to use these things as weapons of control, you are deepening the crisis. And so don't use it. Allow the traditions of the relationship to continue to grow and sustain, so that you can talk about it. Then when you forgive the person, don't act like you have healed. Allow yourself to heal and work together in the healing process. Okay? And then always remember that when you offend somebody, that person has the right to hurt. So don't think that when people are hurting or expressing their hurt, that it is pettiness. Allow them to hurt. Provide the support that is going to help them to heal, so that you too can heal. If they don't heal, Piki will say, Mama no go sleep into. That's all.
All right, thank you very much for this discussion. But before we bring the curtains in, I want you to put out your social media handle where we can reach you.
Okay, so for me it's Ogochukwunweke on Facebook, The Marriage Clinic on Instagram, and of course we also have a page on Facebook called The Marriage Clinic with Ogo.
I guess I have only one. I'm not so much of a social media person, so I can be reached Ninye Afule Ashon on Facebook, and you just find me.
All right, thank you very much. So yeah, to the relationship where you think that, oh, that is it, as she said, we can patch things up and make things work. So to you who always make a point to watch Moans and Cuddles and Ghana Web TV, we do appreciate you. We'll be back with the next episode of Moans and Cuddles. My name is Paulina Dedaa Opoku.
Oh.